What's up everyone, Arkandy here, and I'm gonna talk about some fun rotation glitches, which can be confusing, so I think people should know more about them. Let me say, you're in for a wild ride. I'll show some crazy stuff that you've never seen before, even if you're a seasoned runner. This will be more of a documentary than a tutorial, so let's do this. Axis Skew. One of the most iconic tricks back from the legacy suitless route. With invincibility on, we would use the purple Amy to skew Samus and face forward, speed boost in place, and then skip the hard requirement for gravity suit. Apparently, Shanaz found invincibility, Pity found the Axis Skew setup, then Robo Rotambo, Cryptic Jackknife, Sarah, and many others came together to engineer gravity skip. Those are big names from the early days of labbing, and these people are incredible. I think the name Axis Skew was inspired by Samus getting yeeted off the axis to face forward, so now we use the word skew for any vertical axis rotations. With current knowledge, I would call this glitch the Axis Aligned Skew. Tap free aim and then double press B to make Samus spin in place, which is only possible when perfectly aligned. Without free aim, if you input any direction and spin, Samus goes back to normal. This is the only skew that's currently possible without the Bomuhey State. There are only two interesting uses for this glitch: speed boosting in place and wall clipping. Speed boosting is actually based on a timer, so instead of the usual 18 tiles, zero distance is possible. This has been the most interesting use of the Axis Skew glitch, but in current patch and without Bomuhey, use of this tech is very limited. Wall clipping is primarily done with the Bomuhey State, however, with the discovery of the neutral jump clip, it was found to be possible without Bomuhey. Clipping in this way is extra complicated, only possible on right side walls, not very well explored, and so it is not really used. As cool as that sounds, the Axis Skew is very flimsy and breaks easily. You can move around with neutral jumps and little more than that. Many actions will reset the rotation or unskew, including spinning, shine sparking, ledge grabs, morphing, or taking damage. In short, it's difficult to carry this glitch around. Unique to this skew, free aim, backward melee, and fly shift do not break it. Fly shifting is very awkward, by the way. It only moves Samus to the left, cancels all momentum in midair, seems to collision check everything vertically, so you can get a full fly shift in rooms that have few structures, otherwise only short distances. That said, in the right places it is possible to shine sync and retain Axis Skew. There are a few different ways to obtain this glitch. The dash melee setup. Invincibility was patched out, but this setup is still possible with damaged iframes, which sadly won't work with the enemy. Be inside enemy collision, turn around, and dash melee while on the frame facing forward. Some players have accidentally done this in boss fights. Using Tilt. We'll talk about this later, but it's the easiest and most reliable setup, only possible with magnets. A shine sync glitch, which I've already showcased in another video, so go watch that. Can be done anywhere shine syncing is possible, but seems to be frame perfect. Z57. Start holding the shoot button during the cutscene, let Samus partially charge a beam and release when the particle effects first appear. That's it! You can reset the checkpoint and try again if you miss it. Now, if you can navigate through the limitations of the Axis Skew, you could instantly kill Z57 with a Shine Spark. This is only possible in the main game, not in boss rush. Tilt. That's when Samus gets rotated around the axis that goes into the screen as if she were on a slope. I figured out how to get tilt easily, but a lot of other people lab this glitch too. This funny little glitch happens when you grapple into a magnet and grab it. That's all it takes. Basic gameplay. Any kind of magnet works, although ceiling magnets are more convenient, and there are some variables that factor into the resulting angle. There are three noteworthy things that Tilt can do. Guaranteed Aligned Skew. If you shine spark in the opposite vertical direction of the tilt, tilt up, spark down, or tilt down, spark up, you get a guaranteed Axis Aligned Skew. If you have tilt pointing down, you can spark up forward to get an Axis Skew on impact. However, this happens inconsistently. Conveyor Spark. If you spark forward or in the vertical direction of tilt, you get a conveyor spark. The larger the tilt angle, the faster you'll move, which is very fun unless you hit a slope. Any other shine spark directions will behave mostly as normal. You could now mirror this effect where Samus is tilted upright, down left, and down right for all possible combinations. Tilt Pseudo, the newest find which you can just see in the Storm Skip video I made recently. Aside from the one application of Tilt Pseudo, Tilt on its own is a nice party trick. So you might be wondering why you have not seen this in your casual playthrough. Either you had Tilt very small to notice or immediately broke the glitch. Tilt is even more flimsy than Axis Skew. To move around with Tilt, you're pretty much limited to walking. Spinning always breaks, most Shine Sparks break, Morph and Ledge Grabs break. Basically you can carry this downward but not really upward. It is not possible to stack tilts, but at least it's very easy to get tilted again. During the tilt labbing, Zaz figured out it was possible to combine tilt and skew. Most of the time, grappling magnets with skew will just break it, but if you free aim directly up, jump and grapple, it adds tilt without breaking the Aligned Skew. Although this didn't lead to anything useful, it was kind of fun to see Samus floating about. There was a very impressive use of tilt before the glitch was well understood, and it involved grappling a magnet during a Shine Sync clip to obtain an Axis Skew. You're watching Bonnie do this trick in old 100% unrestricted, which was part of a very flashy strategy to collect an item. Upside Down Samus, a one-time glitch that can only be obtained from this sliding magnet door in Artaria. Activate the magnet, then grab the top, and hop out just before the magnet deactivates. Very tight timing. This behaves very differently from both Skew and Tilt. For one, all your directional inputs are inverted. You can spin jump and retain the state. Samus will continually turn around on her own, you can't walk for more than a few steps. It's just overall very awkward, so I'll leave it at that. The most interesting thing we could do with it was speed boosting in place. The problem is that the speed booster is immediately interrupted on full charge, so there's only one frame to store the Shine Spark. With map buffer being a thing nowadays, this wouldn't be so bad, but back then it was terrible. In addition, this state is pretty easy to lose, almost like Skew and Tilt. If you lose it, you'd have to reload checkpoint or save to repeat the setup, like camera lock. Due to that, and the very tight setup, not much labbing was done with this. There was a time people tried to get early screw attack with Upside Down Samus as an alternative to camera lock. Unrestricted runners at the time gave it a shot, and it was Oopla who got there first. It was extremely hard and not really worth doing in runs, but very impressive nonetheless. I said earlier that Upside Down cannot be done anywhere else. There is one little exception. When you grapple a magnet while flash shifting. Did you see it? There she is, upside down for a single frame. I have tried many things to get this rotation to persist, and nothing I tried has ever worked so far. Bomuhey Skew, named after the Japanese runner that encountered this very elusive glitch for the first time. In early labbing, the community commonly used Bomuhey Skew and the name kinda stuck. But in reality, this is more of a state, and not in itself a skew, so it often gets confused with the Axis Skew glitch. As long as you don't break it, the Bomuhey State allows you to obtain unaligned skews anywhere, anytime, at will. This glitch was hunted by countless people and also revolutionized every unrestricted category. I already have a full tutorial on how to set up the state, but it's been 3 years now, and there are many things worth mentioning. The setup for Bomuhey State involves doing a Shine Sync. The key part of this setup is where you're supposed to aim backward, then release free aim and go forward on the same frame. If you do this correctly, Samus continues to glide forward and acquires the state. Doing these inputs anywhere else that I know of would have made Samus turn around in midair. Interestingly, the only thing that breaks this state and returns Samus to normal is a neutral midair turnaround, the thing Samus was supposed to do but didn't. I would love to know why exactly that happens and hope someone one day will look into it. The 3 most important mechanics of this glitch are: number 1, rotation freeze. Samus's rotation freezes when initiating a spin and stays frozen while spinning, although there are other ways to do it. Very unaligned skews stay frozen on the ground and even when not spinning. 2. Accumulation. A small skew angle accumulates every time Samus rotates. Standing turnarounds adjust counterclockwise and crouch turnarounds adjust clockwise. Various actions can reset the rotation while retaining the state. Persistence. The state itself persists through cutscenes, loads, transitions, save files, menus, and boss rush. Bomuhey can do loads of things, so I'll go over some of the more interesting ones. We can use turnaround frames from a variety of animations to freeze Samus's rotation. There are various ways to do that, though I want to mention 3 in particular. Slides. If you get a back-facing skew from a slide, you can fire neutral angled beams that it's possible to use for some funky pseudo-waves. The specific angle depends on the turnarounds you've done. Ledges. Samus goes through a number of turnaround frames when dropping down from ledges, which you can lock into by spinning. This is something you can witness even without the Bomuhey State. Samus spins away from the ledge on the first frame, otherwise spins into it. Grounded Skew. The last rotation freeze I want to mention was solved by Switched. Turns out it was possible to lock skews on the ground by first tapping free aim and then turning around and crouching immediately. Arguably the most important use of Bomuhey is wall clipping. To help you understand this, let me explain 3 things regarding out of bounds in this game. Visual clip. When some part of Samus like an arm, leg or cannon is visually inside terrain, but Samus is not considered to be out of bounds. We see this in regular gameplay all the time, and pseudo-waves exploit this very much. Partial out of bounds. When Samus is deep enough to move inside collision but not so deep she dies. We do a variety of wall clip setups to get partially clipped before going through. Full out of bounds. When Samus is so deep inside collision that the game just kills her for it. Most collisions will kill, but we use grapple beam, shine spark, or map buffers to survive. Wall clip setups do 2 things. First, they get Samus partially clipped and then survive through the out of bounds death. 99.9% of skews obtained directly from this state are unaligned with the axis. This is actually a good thing because unlike the Axis Aligned Skew, these can be reset with free aim plus backward melee, which is an essential step in many setups. There are actually many different ways to set up and I have tutorials for all of them, which you can check in the description. I greatly recommend part 2.2 Neutral Jump Clip because it's where I explain the fastest and most used wall clips currently. Bomuhey Skews make it evident that movement inputs operate differently on the ground and in mid-air. If you have a skew, then Samus's ground velocity is given by the skew angle, while in mid-air it's completely unaffected. Maybe this is why we haven't found air clips yet, as we always set up on the floor first. And on that note, there's another fun interaction with Bomuhey, movement into the screen axis. When you break blocks that Samus is on top of, any kind of block, she can visually move in the screen axis, although her collision stays accurate with the game's terrain and actors. I haven't covered every detail, and this glitch state is already stacked. If some glitches are considered major, this one's a super major. Now regarding the glitch name, I feel as though Bomuhey Skew sounds like an instance of blocking a skew. Technically, a more descriptive name might be something like Rotation Freeze State, but I don't get to rename text, so going forward I'll just call it Bomuhey or Bomuhey State. Easy enough. Some people say Skew State, which can work, but may be confused with Axis Skew, and this state is more complex than just skewing. Therefore, being this state, it is also possible to stack Bomuhey with the other rotation glitches we've already talked about. You can stack Bomuhey with the original Axis Aligned Skew using any of the setups I mentioned before. The only difference is you can now use spin jumps to carry the skew around more easily. This combination is actually not very interesting because we can't unskew in the typical ways needed to do wall clips. I did find this one curious setup: unskew initially facing left, standing turn around and slide into a back facing skew, which randomly gives 1 of 4 results. Unaligned skew facing either left or right, an angle that forces a turnaround when you free aim, which I don't understand, and a back facing Axis Aligned Skew, a very curious thing that I think no one has really explored much. If you use a flash shift, then it makes Samus face forward and stay axis aligned. You could technically use this to get an axis aligned skew anywhere with the Bomuhey State if you're okay with RNG. With the Bomuhey State, tilt can persist a little longer and spin jumps won't break it. The real banger is when we add skews to the mix. A very interesting effect is that we can use tilt to set up a fast clip angle. This happens because Samus gets tilt while being pulled to the magnet, but thanks to Bomuhey's weirdness, it gets converted to a skew angle. Tilt still won't stack with itself, but the skew angle will stack, so we can set up a variety of wall clip angles wherever there is a ceiling magnet. Next is the tilt sync clip, which is technically a 3-way combo between the Bomuhey State, skew, and tilt. With a near aligned skew to keep Samus in place, and with a downward tilt, we can sink Samus into the ground with a dash melee and then tap down to clip. I already have a video showcasing this tech, so go watch that. This is not possible without the Bomuhey State. I know this video has been a wild ride, but this is gonna top everything else down, I guarantee it. When you combine Bomuhey with upside down Samus, you get top down Samus. This is basically a combination of an Axis Aligned Skew because we can spin in place, and rotation on the horizontal axis. The first I've seen, and we have now seen it all. Rotations in all axes, amazing. What can this do? I don't really know. I'm gonna be honest, it's a pain to mess with this. It involves a lot of resetting the checkpoint. It's all too easy to lose the Bomuhey State while attempting. All I know is if you spark up or down, you get an Axis Aligned Skew and get rid of the other rotation. And sideways, you get a short conveyor spark. If I try to do that flash shift with Bomuhey, I still get an upside down Samus and not a top down Samus. So maybe these are two very different things after all. That is all I have for this video, and I would not be surprised if in the near future people end up finding even more rotational gen. A lot of information on these glitches was buried in probably weeks or months of reading through Discord posts, so now you can just learn about these glitches in a few minutes. I hope you enjoyed the content. I see some of you pulling your switches to do some glitching. You're welcome and have fun. And with that, I thank you for watching, have a good day, and see you on the next one.